Right, welcome, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. It's Shuumatsu no Valkyrie, also known as Record of Ragnarok, Chapter 90. Finally doing the reaction stream. I haven't streamed since the middle of May, so it's been a while. It's been a hot minute, and currently it says the stream status is incredibly poor right now. I don't know if that's true or not. I have no idea. But either way, what we're going to be doing here tonight, and because most of these streams only last about, 30 minutes, 45 minutes-ish with the chapter reactions and stuff, and where the series has lost a lot of popularity. When I first started doing the reaction streams for this series, and even when I did review videos, it was like, no, the reaction streams do so much better. I was getting, a couple dozen people in there, no problem, no matter what time I did them and stuff. And now, the VODs barely do 100 views. You know what I mean? So I think there's been a lot of lost love for the series for a lot of reasons. I think it just got stale for a lot of people. It got stale for me for a while, though. I still, so far, think that the last couple chapters in this fight specifically have been quite good so far. So yeah, I think that's part of it. It's just one of those things, I guess. It's just one of those things, right? But anyway, we're going to just wait a couple of minutes here as the stream, starts up. But this will get me caught up once again. I didn't want to wait too long. I know Chapter 90 dropped like last week or so. And I'm still behind on getting to it. But I realized I didn't want to do another 88, 89. I didn't want to have to wait to the point that we're doing a double chapter reactions. So I said to myself, okay, if I got some time and blah blah blah, and I just haven't done a stream in so long, right? Last time I did a stream was not a very good day for me personally. Obviously, most people who are watching my videos know that I'm dealing with a marital crisis at the moment. But yeah, so either way, I just, didn't really know how to handle, and I wasn't feeling like streaming for the longest time, so. I don't really feel like doing it now, necessarily, like, that's why I haven't been focused on any gaming streams or anything like that, but, yeah, I definitely wanted to make sure I got caught up with the Chapter 90 stream, for sure, and, yeah, either way, also, I don't know why it says the quality is poor. Everything is telling me everything is fine. So if you guys are noticing a problem in frames or glitchiness or whatever, let me know. I don't know what I can do about it, but yeah. Let's check the chat. There's actually a chat going, lo and behold. It's been a while. Joseph said, hey, Griever. Hey, Joseph, how you doing? The theater I'm working at is closing, and today's the last day. Oh. Well, that is... I'm sorry to hear that. I really am. So you work there. Is that like part-time, or is that your full-time job or something like that? Like, you don't need to disclose too many details, but like, did you know it was coming? Like, have you set up other plans? Or, it always sucks when that kind of shit goes down, right? Caden's here and says, hey, how have you been? Shitty. Really shitty. But thanks for asking. It's so funny. A lot of people are like, oh, you shouldn't say that. I'm like, well, I'm not going to sit here and lie about that shit. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never the type of person, and maybe I should be, for some pleasantries, like the customers that I work with day to day and stuff. How you doing? All right. How you doing? Blah blah blah. It's not a lie. It's just not really the truth either. You know what I mean? It's just one of those narrowing. It's exchanging pleasantries. There's no actual meaning behind the words, and that's how I justify it. Because when, people ask me, how you doing? I'm not doing well. And my whole life is falling apart. My future, my life, everything is going wrong. And you probably don't want to hear about it, but you asked, so here's the, you know what I mean? So but I never lie about that. So, Joseph said, so yeah, that sucks. That does suck. As I said, I'm asking the details. Hopefully everything's all gonna work out in other avenues for you. You find another job in another theater, or I don't know, at another production or something. I'm not sure what you do at the theater, but yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. Kane said, did you hear about the side manga Record Ragnarok that's having the gods fight in a tournament to see what's going to be the final god participating in Ragnarok? No, I thought that was just a fan thing. I heard I just didn't want spoilers for Chapter 90 because I knew I didn't have the intention on reading it like when it first dropped, like that week or whatever, like last week or the week before or whatever. I knew it was dropping, so I said, well, I got to stay off of the Reddits and the Discords and shit like that. So I did, but I did catch a few snippets of that, and I didn't know what people were talking about. But okay, there's a side manga. Maybe I'll read that and review it, or just make a video on it. I won't do a stream of it, but yeah. Tenryo's in here and says, "Me are arrived." Me are arrived too. I'm here too. So yeah. Anyways, let's just get underway. Once again, I don't want this to be any longer than an hour at best. So, because I have other things I want to do before the end of the night. So let's just get on with it here. Starting off Chapter 90 of Record of Ragnarok. And we see the standoff there between, once again, Okita and Susanoo. He has drawn the blade. I mean, it was forced, but it sort of does look like the copper blade, you know what I mean? It's been reforged into the katana the whole bit. Yeah, I like that. Okay. So the Onikiri Amame no Murakumo is a blade already cloaked in an exceptional sword pressure. It is a pretty blade. And that stance, taken by the sword god wielding such an exceptional divine weapon, is truly, even though Okita is looking, atypical. Oh, that is an interesting stance with the sword held back and upright completely. One hand out, legs spread. It's a nice shot. It's a cool panel. It's a cool shot. In Chapter 90, atypical. Abnormal, if you will. What even is that stance? Asks Heimdall. Susanoo's taken a supremely atypical stance against the demon child. And says, isn't it cool, Okita? This is my trump card. Okay, so Susanoo recognizes that if everyone else is like, what the hell? Okita's going to be like, no. It might look weird, it might look atypical, it might look foolish even, but he's like, I don't know this style. This is no joke. It's going to be his immediate response, in my opinion. That's immediately what he's gonna say. At least as far as I'm figuring, right? And then, so, next panel, Okita is actually backing up a foot. He's backstepping. I'm being forced back. The sword pressure is insane. So Okita feels the strength. What an incredible stance. I feel like I've seen it before. Yes, it's just like the stance Susanoo was always depicted using in the Nishikii colored woodblock print. Except the sword's held different. He's not holding a sword. So Kojiro is actually looking at it with Musashi. So it's a stance for cutting him in two the moment he enters his range. Even Kojiro is sitting there like, so he'll cut him in two the moment he enters his range. It'll be like a boom, like just a simple. He's trying to figure it out. Musashi says, but I've never seen a stance like that in any school before. I suppose it's most similar to EI, but still. What's EI? Hold on. I suppose you wouldn't know. It's an ancient art. You meet an opponent's attack while it's in mid-swing and cut them down. It's a style based entirely on receiving an attack. Yeah. It's very dangerous. Some people call it different things, but at the end of the day, it's the idea of appearing defenseless, and the moment the attack is starting, you counterattack. So, This sometimes is confused with a form of batujutsu, which is the art of course, drawing the sword in and attacking in one strike and then resheathing the sword. Batujutsu, very popularized by the Kenshin manga. Sometimes it's also misinterpreted by the idea of, I forget the exact name, but Tekken, where you leave yourself totally open to attack, and the idea is you're going to be able to dodge or perceive the attack, and then find a weakness in the aftermath of your opponent's attack. You leave yourself wide open to strikes, so you can formulate a counterattack after the fact. But these are separate from EI. Usually, you're as they are depicting here. Usually, you seem defenseless, but you're not. You're kneeling on the ground, or you're not even, your hands aren't near your sword hilt or whatever. Right? It's an entire focus and concentration. But yeah, so it's similar, but yeah, okay, all right. And let's see. So all the sword masters are looking on, going, what is this? That said, that stance and the AI that we're familiar with are completely separate beasts altogether. Yeah, and he's still standing strong. Disgraceful. Simply disgraceful for Susanoo to bring himself to use that technique. A technique he created whilst walking alongside humanity. Simply imagining it makes my testicles shrivel in disgust. Jesus, Tsukiyomi. Jesus Christ. Makes my testicles shrivel in disgust. Shrinkage is a thing that happens among all men when they, go into the ocean, as it were. But it's really, that's a pretty bold way to say it. I'm not gonna lie. That's an interesting way to put that. 100%. Let's see what Amaterasu has to say. Now, this is worth the watch. Little Susanoo's super secret special move. That's gonna be a killer. And who's here? Izangi's they're actually going to depict Izangi, basically the creator god of in the Nico code. Not the Dead Sea Scrolls, the other one. I keep wanting to say Kojiro. No, it's not the Kojiro. Anyways, the ancient texts, right? They usually depict Izangi and Inzami as the husband and wife creator gods. There's actually a level above them in Shintoism, but for all intents and purposes, he's the father of all gods. The god of fire, the god of moon, the god of this, the god of that, and of course, Amaterasu, Susanoo, and Tsukiyomi are also his children, right? So, well, now, just what will you do? So I'm actually impressed that they actually decided to depict him and show him. I kind of like the flowing robes and the hairstyle and stuff. Like, this is sort of what I expect an ancient Japanese god to look like. I do have to look that up. I gotta figure out what the hell that text is. Shinto text. What is that damn thing too? I know it begins with a K. The Kojiki, yeah. Along with the Neon Shoki, but the Kojiki, not Kojiro, Kojiki. Yeah, the Kojiki is the one. Is the main text that everybody follows for basically the mythology and or religion in regards to Shintoism. It seems like we actually have quite a bit of a chat here going, and we have 4 people in here, 5 people, but only 1 like. So definitely hit that like button, guys, if you wouldn't mind. And we'll try to catch up with the chat here. Let's see. So Kane said, supposedly the Monkey King is in it, supposed to be participating. So is the god Ra. Finally, I did want to see Ra depicted somewhere in the series. So 100%. And the Monkey King. Okay. So Bambina is about to make his appearance. Which, once again, if Bambina is going to show up, Toriko verse over Shuumatsu no Valkyrie verse every day of the week, Bambina is going to slaughter. Bambina was too strong. I know we're talking about Sung Wukong, but I'm just saying, like, yeah, no. Monkey King, of course, the Monkey King in Toriko is who I'm referring to. But Tenryo says, My Hero Academia is ending in 4 more chapters. I did catch up with the last little bit, though I have no frame of reference because I dropped reading My Hero Academia shortly after the Stars and Stripes well, going into the Stars and Stripes shortly after that, I stopped keeping up with it, and I haven't read basically this entire final battle arc all together. But I did read like the last 4 chapters just to see what the hell is happening, and I was like, okay, so things are happening. I don't understand it all, but yeah, My Hero Academia is finally ending. But I feel like just because I didn't like it and a lot of other people didn't like the way they handled things after the My Villain section and with Stars and Stripes and stuff, I do feel like it was insanely popular for a long time, and I feel like good idea on Horikoshi for ending the series right now while he's still on a somewhat high, while the series is still vastly popular. Trying to stretch it out for far too long is usually a disaster. So yeah. Along with Jujutsu Kaisen also ending this year. They said it was ending last year, Jujutsu Kaisen, so God knows, Tenryo, God knows. Another era of manga is coming to a close. I mean, see, I don't really feel like... Black Clover nearly did it, but like everyone was saying, MHA, JJK, and My Hero. And then people said Chainsaw Man, and then people said this and that and the other thing. I never felt that Black Clover, My Hero Academia, or Jujutsu Kaisen touched on the same level that other things did. And we had one-offs like Demon Slayer because of animation carried the world by a storm for all of 2 years, and everyone said it was the greatest thing ever created. Now nobody talks about it. But it's... Yeah, I mean, is it an era of manga coming to an end? Maybe. Maybe so. But I don't know where you would start and where you would define it as a start and end part of the era, I guess. I don't know. It is interesting, though, that they're both going to be ending roughly around the same time. Hopefully Jujutsu Kaisen ends soon. Kane said Gojo over Sukuna all day. Absolutely. Gojo got nerfed to fuck. Joseph says, well, anyway, we won't get into that, but yeah, Gojo can beat Sukuna. I'm still convinced. Joseph said, pretty sure it was part-time, but I do plan on getting a new job at this cool escape room place. Oh, awesome. I said, but I had so much fun working at the theater because I got along with my coworkers and the perks were awesome. But luckily I did exchange contact info with some, so I'll be able to stay connected with them. Well, that's fantastic. That's really great. And by the way, people, 4 people still in here, but only 1 like. Hit the button, please. Tonero said, at Joseph, sorry to hear about what happened to you. I hope movie theaters never truly die. Streaming should never replace it completely. I agree. Like, there are certain movies, like one of the last movies I went to see was, I went to see Blue Beetle with my wife. That was a great experience, just going on a date, right? Like, we went out to eat lunch, and then we went on a movie date, and it was great. And the movie before that I went to see for sure was, I remember Top Gun Maverick. See, movies like that, you have to see those big action-packed movies in theaters. You can watch any romantic comedy or whatever like that, or movies like The Hangover or American Pie or anything like that. You can watch that in the comfort of your own home. But a movie theater for big action, adventure, superhero movies, things with special effects, Star Wars, anything like that, it's a totally different experience. And I think it should be experienced at a theater, you know what I mean? Granted, when he said theater, I was assuming he was working at, like, literally, like, a play theater, as in, like, actual plays on stage. I thought he was talking to stage theater, because usually people say, I work at a movie theater, but anyways, yeah, that's the way I originally took it, but yeah, if he worked at a popcorn theater, same idea, yeah. But either way, it doesn't matter, the theater's closing down, and that sucks. Joseph said, thanks, and I don't think they'll truly die. People are still going to the movies. The majority just like going to the big releases. Exactly. Tenryo said, the last movie I saw in theaters was Godzilla vs. Kong. There's just too much coming out that interests me in theaters these days. That's true. I did go see the first Godzilla vs. Kong in theaters. I also saw that in theaters, yes. I didn't see the second one in theaters, though. Tenryo said, did you know that Misk stopped reading Ragnarok for now? I was not entirely aware of that. I know he wasn't doing reviews or something like that, but I didn't know he actually stopped reading it. Misk and I talk now and again, but not as much as we used to, so I don't really know what he's into these days, really. I know he does a lot of gaming with a new crew of people that's joined the Discord in the last year or two, and, he's focused on, like, Elden Ring stuff, and, I think he's not as interested in YouTubing anymore. I think he's built the community that he liked. From my perspective, I feel like he built up this community through his YouTube channel and stuff, but now he's met a bunch of people that he really enjoys hanging out with, that he's met in real life and stuff too, from what I'm aware of. And now he's got this new group of friends or whatever, and they're kind of a core group of them, and they're just there having fun doing their own thing, and he's less concerned with making YouTube content as such of, you know what I mean? Like, he's more focused on just having a good time, and good for him, you know what I mean? And he's got his college life and all that stuff, so maybe it's just one thing. If he's not interested in it, he's just not going to follow it, you know? As I said, had this fight started to suck at any point, I mean, Ragnarok did lose a lot of traction after round 4. It started to lose it heavily, and it never really fully recovered it, in all honesty. Just one sec, guys. Gotta turn down the heater. What's the next one? Just said, I caught up on Black Clover anime, and I'm excited for future installments. Yeah, see, I like Black Clover. It's hard for me to decide which one I like better, My Hero Academia or Black Clover. I think they're both pretty solid. You know, like 7 out of 10s, both of them. The art style, not the art quality, but the art style, neither one speaks to me personally. So, and outside of a few, some of the cast of some of the characters are just not. Yeah, I mean, Black Clover is pretty good. So is My Hero. Tenryo said, I say that another era of manga is ending because there's almost no other manga from the 2010s remaining in Weekly Shonen Jump. It doesn't help that most of the manga that Misk reads are just going downhill. Well, I mean, that's true too. I never liked Chainsaw Man. I don't know how that's doing. JJK was never the Bleach that everyone claimed it to be, and honestly, I never got why people thought Shibuya was so fucking good. And I honestly haven't really. I enjoyed some of the colony fights and stuff. But yeah, JJK never hit the same for me, and I would argue that it's certainly going downhill in this fight. Though some people don't think it has. And yeah. So I'm not sure why he's doing what he's doing. But yeah, I suppose everything from the 2010s is sort of done and over at this point. Dragon Ball Super is still, I guess, continuing. I don't know. You know, so there's that, but we'll have to wait and see. Anyways, let's jump back to Record Ragnarok. Let's see, because so we already had Izangi looking on. Little one. Yeah, because he says, well, now, just what will you do, little one, referring to Okita. So let's see. Sure is an interesting stance, says Okita. The second I step in your range, I end up in pieces. Oh, and he's starting to move. Too bad that you won't land. Shall we see, says Susanoo. And Okita rushes forward against Susanoo's atypical stance. Okita Soji rushes him head on. And he can see it. He sees the line. And he steps in. No, he keeps stepping in and out of the range. It's like he's just toying with them. Okay, so it's boom, 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 trying to wait for the attack. Is he aiming to slip through and cut down Susanoo without giving up a target himself? He's just going to continue to do it. He sees the hand. He sees it all. Incredible. All he's doing is sticking out his hand. And yet I can't find a single opening. Oh, that's a cool shot. That's a really cool shot of Susanoo. It looks like he's ginormous, like, you know, the weight of this gigantic I'm holding down sort of idea. Yeah, I like that. Let's see. I knew you'd close in without fear, Okita Soji. But against this, Trying to compare range is for naught. And then, let's see. Oh, wait. He's moving forward. He's coming at me. Shall we? And, so he's backstepping at this range. Is he pulling him forward? Wait, at this range. And he slashes down and it's created... He's literally... It looks like it's a beam. He's using, like, air pressure and foam, which is sort of the wind cutter. I always thought if I was ever to make the Kusanagi blade, Kusanagi no Tsurugi, or the Amanda Murakumo, if I was ever going to make it, it was called the grass cutter sword, the wind cutter, that kind of idea. I always had the idea that it would shoot out laser blasts made up of wind pressure, and it would be like the sword that controls element of air, controls the wind, and you know. And I think we're going with that because boom, and Okita's like, oh shit, and it just cuts down. Holy shit. Alright, so the first panel is pretty sweet. That's a pretty sexy panel. Then the second double page panel from Susanu's side looks even crisper. That's a nice look. And it's just cutting the buildings and everything in Susanoo. Oh. Secret technique. Amano Magashi? Amano Magashi. Okay. And we see a bunch of the buildings and everything just crumbling down. Just being cut by it. What the? No fucking way. So the Shinsengumi are looking. Soji! They're looking and he's looking and all the the buildings and stuff were crumbling down. He's looking around. What? I don't even understand what just happened. With just one stroke of his sword, the sword god has cut Kyoto to ribbons. Yeah, so that was a sword, that was the air pressure slash, I'm assuming, and it just decimated all the buildings. It cut through everything. Whoa, way to go, Susanoo. Things are looking good for us now. The range of that attack. Just what special ability is he using? And let's see what Sasaki has to say. No, that was just him simply swinging his sword with speed and strength. Are you saying that was just a simple swing? Pretty astonishing, though. Yes, because he's a god, he's swinging it so fast that the air pressure, we've seen that in manga and anime 100 times. It's simply the air pressure from his swipe is so great, it created a cut in the air. It's a wind scar, it's Inuyasha all over again. A full swing with frightening speed and strength, cutting down the air itself. Creates a vacuum blade at the tip of his sword, which makes it as though the sword extends further. The swing goes well beyond a typical range, to the point where both Okita and the entirety of Kyoto were cut to pieces. A swing more powerful than any other swing, is such a thing even possible? It's not a question if it's possible or not. It's something only possible because it's Susanoo and that sword. I dare say it's something we humans cannot even fathom. It must have been taken hundreds, no, probably thousands of years of him just swinging his sword again and again and again. He truly loves the sword, and you couldn't achieve such a technique without being loved back by it. See, a lot of people don't like this whole Susanoo's a fanboy who fell in love with the sword. It's like, no, he is a fanboy of hard work and dedication. He saw something that made no sense. He was very much, from a Kengan perspective, he was very much like a Julius Reinhold. He was like, all I need is the biggest muscles and no one will defeat me. That technique mattered. That anything that, style and art form and stances and any of these things, the joints and this, that, and the other thing, none of that matters in the face of overwhelming power. Susanoo was of that same one-track mind, and all of a sudden he was introduced to the idea of something that he couldn't comprehend, and he thought it was beautiful. He's like, he would have put his godhood, his life savings, he would have put everything in Vegas on the line, that there was no way that kid, doesn't matter that he has a sword, a rock, it wouldn't matter what weapon, it would not matter. He would not lose. He would never win against a physically stronger and bigger opponent. And Susanoo was completely proven wrong, and he went, wait a minute, this doesn't make sense to me. That was so amazing. And he was in awe of the fact that because he was always strong, the weak used the same thing he had always used, but used his inventions, his tools to their advantage and brought them into new heights that he never would have considered for himself. That the weak find techniques to become strong. Where he was born strong, he had no concept of ever trying. So it's not about just being a fanboy of swords, being an otaku for swordsmen. It's about finding determination and hard work and passion. It's about passion. And it's actually a great backstory. Like, that's why I like this round. This is why I think this is really good, because I think people just don't understand Susanoo. It's not about just being a sword fanboy. It's literally about seeing the hard work and dedication and passion that people had towards something that he treated as nothing more than a simple tool. Sort of like if a someone who eats whatever food, the best foods, eats all their favorite foods, but never stepped in a kitchen in their life, and never understood, then all of a sudden creates a new flavor, a new something with all these tools that, they've been making the same this, that, and all they had was salt and pepper food and stuff, and then all of a sudden a chef comes in and showcases how to use the knife to cut up the onions in a different way, and how to bring out the aroma of the stock to make a better stew or a better soup or something. And you'd be in awe, you'd be inspired. I mean, why do you think people become chefs? Why do you think people become anything? There's usually something in their childhood or something they see, they become inspired to say, people who love their job and love their career usually were inspired by seeing something like what Susanoo saw. And they dedicate their life towards it. Like, I want to be like that, So, I think people chalk up Susanoo in a negative way too quickly. I think they're entirely mistaken. And I think this chapter's just going to show it as well. So he continues saying, to see my Ama no Magashi for the first time and still react, you were able to avoid the wind blade by rolling to the side. Such is the Bakumatsu's greatest manslayer. Okita's like, oh shit. Oh, and he's damaged. Had you attempted to fend off the attack head on as you were, you truly may have ended up in pieces. If I had been even a second slower, I would have been done for. Susanoo no Makoto. Oh, he's not happy. What's wrong? Surely the demon child is not afraid. My apologies. I'm just comforted by the sound of my heart racing, Susanoo. I really am glad I accepted this death match. Thanks to you, I can get even hotter. Oh, and now his blood moon and boom. Is he gonna go all out? Yo, there's something off about Soji. His eyes are burning even redder than usual. He really looks like a demon. Oh, he's launching forward. The sword god knew. You surprised me. To think there was yet another side to the demon child. That he had awoken up the demon child. No. I'm burning up. Get fucked. Oh, I love that. The sword demon of truth. Okay. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of the chapter and the end of the reaction. But once again, so he's no longer the demon child. He's the sword demon of truth. I love it. He says, I'm burning up while Okita's literally burning. And he's like, all right, sword drawn. Get fucked. Like, all right. Guy's got some shit to say. Like, he looks good. I like the art for this. Those two double page spreads were incredible. They were awesome. This chapter was very good. I don't know why people have a problem with Susanoo. I don't know why people like, oh my god, it's so boring that we don't have a fucking matchup between Egyptians and fucking, Englishmen. Every goddamn matchup. It's like, it's okay to have one. Yeah, and people act. Here's what's funny. Here's what's funny to me. Okay? People act as though this is the first time we've had two people represented from the same country or same mythology or same something having a matchup. Just so we're clear, Greek and Roman gods share the same mythology. They had different names because the Roman Empire overtook the Greeks. But Mars is still Aries. Jupiter is still... You see what I'm saying here? Neptune is still Poseidon. I'm just saying. It's the same mythology. So when we had Leonidas fight against Apollo, that was a matchup in the same demographic, whatever you want to call it. And then before that, we had Tesla versus Beelzebub. Correct me if I'm wrong, but what religion is Beelzebub from? Christianity. Yeah. And where do you figure, what religion, if Tesla as an inventor and a scientist, unlikely to exactly go to church necessarily, but in what country, what's the religion of Tesla's country? So when people say, oh no, Japanese god against Japanese swordsman, I'm like, that's already happened twice before in this series, and I didn't see anybody bitch about that. So yeah, no. This is the third time this has happened. It's just the most blatant on paper that it's happened, and people that don't have a goddamn any background or knowledge are figuring it out now. So yeah, I don't get it. But anyways, yeah. Just wanted to say that piece for sure. Let's see. So we're going to catch up with the chat here. Tenryo said, I still really like JJK. That's good. But this final battle against Sukuna is repetitive as hell. And plus, the whole idea, you know what this is doing? What it's doing is like Gojo over Sukuna for me, in the whole sense that with Sukuna constantly binding vow after binding vow after binding vow, bringing those shit out like they're Tic Tacs. Because the battle's gone on so long, now I'm convinced that like Gojo was just nerfed because Gojo didn't use a single binding vow. Why couldn't Gojo just use binding vows to make Hollow Purple this? Why couldn't he have done this? Why couldn't he have done that? Because Sukuna's getting away with bullshit with very little consequence for the binding vows, right? And sure, you can argue, oh, well, all of them make sense. And I'm sitting there like, great. Gojo could have done the same thing. All the characters, not just Gojo, nobody but Gojo has made nobody but Sukuna has made a binding vow, and Sukuna's popping those things out like Tic Tacs to keep up because they keep like, this is the end of Sukuna. Nope. Doing something else. You know what I mean? That's my biggest problem with JJK is that when you let a battle go on too long and when you create an overly complicated power system with loopholes like cursed energy, binding vows, how cursed energy works, domain expansion, canceling out this, that, the other thing, when you do all that stuff and you add a lot of stuff, you can have crazy cool dynamic fights. Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood has really cool intricate fights, which I think is what they're trying to replicate. Or like the Nen system with Hunter x Hunter. Even though I'm not a huge fan of Hunter x Hunter, I never found I found the Nen system like a lot of information and I never fully understood it, and I find it's overcomplicated for just a battle shonen. I don't know if there was ever a point where it became where it's like, okay, this is getting a little too one-sided. It's like, why didn't the other side do it? Like, there's nothing stopping any of these other high-class Yutas and Gojos and these guys of the world to use binding vows. That's a huge problem. Because the battle went on too long, now we can start poking holes into, you're telling me that Gojo didn't think of using a binding vow. You're telling me that, Yuta didn't think of using a binding vow. You're telling me this. You're telling me only Sukuna, because he's a master of Jujutsu sorcery, he's the only one who knows how to use a fucking binding vow. That's goddamn stupid, So, that's my biggest problem with, not only did him killing off Gojo was the biggest insult. That was a stupid way to do that. That was horrible. Killing off Gojo is one thing. I didn't agree with it. But the fact that they did it off screen was fucking no. You never do that, especially to a fan favorite character. That's not shock value. That's just a middle finger. That was stupid. But if you're going to do that kind of stuff, you need to then wrap it up quickly. You know what I mean? Because now at this point, now we're just supposed to believe, oh yeah, by the way, Kenjaku taking back shots actually worked out because now that the chips are down and everything's wrong, Yuta can use, Yuji can use Sukuna's techniques, etc., etc. but we saw that Cleave did nothing when Yuta used it, so this makes no sense as to why this is so dangerous. And yeah, so anyways, I have a lot of problems with the final fight, in all honesty. But once again, I still think Jujutsu Kaisen is worth a read for a lot of people, but I get when if people ever wanted to drop it. I kept reading it for solely Yuta. And I liked Maki after Maki got her transformation and stuff. There were some good things to still follow. I was hoping Toto would come back. I liked the Yuki versus Chozo versus Kenjaku fight. Once again, Kenjaku should have fucking died there. That made no sense. Yuki won 100%. Before the black hole, by the way. Before the black hole, Kenjaku's head should have been rolled off. But yeah, so there were still good things that I wanted to see, good things I wanted to follow, and Gojo versus Sukuna, I did really want to see that fight, and the fight was really epic up until the way it was handled later, but yeah, so JJK is definitely still worth a read, I would say. And Tenryo, if you still like that series, if you still like and you want to see it to the end, yeah, I mean, once it's over, I'm probably going to get caught up, you know, and right now with the Gojo is Yuta thingy, or Yuta is Gojo right now. I am curious to see that shit go down, because usually, like, Misk or someone pings me, hey, it's a Yuta chapter, you're probably going to want to see it or like it. And I'm like, alright, and I read that chapter, you know, so. Joseph said, Black Clover is better because a while ago I had a realization that Black Clover is far superior. Deku should have totally been Batman-like character instead of being given powers. I'm in the camp of both. I see why people think that Deku should have been the Batman-type character. And I also see people saying, no, this was flipping it on his head. This is a different story. I like both. The problem is that they sort of end up dropping the whole reason that Deku was a Batman-like character ready to happen. And even after he got his All Might powers, because he was so damn physically weak, he wasn't able to use All Might's powers. So he was still being analytical. He was still being a bit of Batman. But halfway through the story, he just stopped being the whole, well, I shall analyze the trajectory. He stopped being Batman and Superman combined. He started just becoming a weak Superman. And he dropped the thing that everyone said made him so Batman, Iron Man-esque in the beginning. And he stopped doing that, I noticed, in the series. We dropped that whole thing where he was keeping notes and always over-analyzing people and trying to keep up with that stuff to create a counter. You know, he sort of dropped that part of it. So, I mean, I like Black Clover, I think, more overall than My Hero Academia. But some of the My Villain Academia stuff, the Endeavor stuff, the Gentle stuff, all that leading up to that point, all that stuff was really good shit. I'm not going to lie. That was some really great stuff. That middle part of My Hero Academia was pretty fucking solid. And I don't think a single arc in Black Clover was as good as the My Villain. I think that whole Hawk and Endeavor thing and the Dobby thing into the My Villain thing and from the Gentle Festival part, I don't think anything in Black Clover really fully topped My Villain Academia's section, but Joseph said, Asta's a way better protagonist. I agree. For not possessing magic, but rising in a world where magic is everything. Well, I mean, they're very similar. They're both, here's a character in a quirkless character in a quirkless world, and here's Asta, a magicless character in a magic world. Yet both of them end up with magic and a quirk. So they're very similar in that regard, but I find Asta to be a better protagonist and a more fun one, I would say. Joseph said, Okita seriously looks like a demon. Yep, and it's awesome. It is. Joseph said, I don't see why people would drop this. Record of Ragnarok is still hype. I think people are just sick and tired of the repetitiveness or something. I don't know. Joseph said, I heard in real life Tesla said that Buddhism and Christianity are the two most important religions. Not a bad take. I don't think religion is important in the idea of teaching people morality. But outside of that, I think religion has its importance. Basically, if everybody grew up with a solid mother and father who would teach them, don't steal, don't kill, basically 10 Commandments kind of shit. If everyone was fortunate enough to grow up in a society, in a world where their mom and dad taught them that well before they were, old enough to walk, we wouldn't need religion. But we need religion and law because people don't teach them the basic ideas that you can't just go killing people. You can't just go doing this. You can't go do that, or people are taught that and then they don't listen. So unfortunately, we kind of still need it in that regard, I think. I don't know. Joseph said, you may not remember this, but back when it was revealed that Leo and Apollo were fighting, I pointed out that they were from the same country, and you took a minute to connect that they're both Greek. Well, yeah, because I did forget that Leonidas... You see, I was connecting to more the Spartan idea, and he wouldn't consider himself... I didn't really consider the Spartans to be a religious people in that regard, so I sort of thought, well, Sparta's not really... But then you did make a good point, yeah. So I'll take... Yeah, I assume you did do that. Yeah, absolutely. Met's here and says it's too predictable. I mean, some fights are. And I really do wish they had flipped it on its head with a few other fights. There were ways to make these more interesting. See, at this point, we're so deep in that all the fights are sort of blending together. As epic and as cool as they look, So yeah, maybe it is just a little too predictable at this point. Then why is it that people whose parents do teach them still have ending up being school shooters or something? That's my point, is that in a perfect world you wouldn't need it, but once again, you have people who teach them, and as you said, you still have that type of people. You still have those people, and even, that's another thing, even in a world with religion, you still have that. That's why I always say, when people say, no, religion is the cause of all the worst things in the world, that's, historically, religion has caused more death and destruction and war and chaos than anything else in the world. You can sum it all up by saying religion. That is historically accurate. That cannot be argued. However, the fact is, erasing religion is also a little naive. Taking religion out of the way will introduce a level of anarchy, because as Meta pointed out, there is you have people, you have two parents, loving parents, they teach their kid right from wrong, and they still end up doing something wrong. They still end up fucked. You know what I mean? Because you can teach a class of 30, 2 + 2 = 4, and they all get it on the first day, and that one kid in the back doesn't get it. Maybe they never get it, and I know I'm simplifying it, but yeah, there's no way when we're talking so many people and a high level of populace. It's just that sometimes what religion can do is create, if you don't have those parents, that might steer people away if they're like, okay, my parents are shitty, or I don't have good parents or whatever, but I still have my religion that I grew up with, and I follow my religion seriously, and that religion is what keeps them moral and sane and stuff, right? It's just, it's one of the things where religion, for all its bad things, does teach a level of morality to millions and millions of people. As we know, there are so many Christians and so many Catholics and so many Buddhists and so many, there's so many people following religion in a very just strict moral and faith sense that I feel like, I don't know. It's hard. It's hard either way. It's very difficult. There's no perfect system. That is the problem, though. I will admit that. There's no perfect system. You can grow up with two loving parents. They can teach you right from wrong, and you could still end up fucked in the head and becoming a criminal. Is it the parents' fault? Did they do anything wrong? Maybe, maybe not. There's no way to know that. Joseph said, but for me, My Hero Academia has something that Black Clover doesn't that I really like, and that's Shigaraki and All for One. To me, they're both awesome villains. I like Shigaraki, didn't really care for All for One. But once again, I don't know I didn't read the final arc. I read the last 2 chapters, but I haven't read that entire arc, so I don't know. I don't know his story. But that last couple of chapters, didn't he was just like, you're just a spoiled brat who wanted to see his brother again or something? Did we really boil it down to another Naruto thing? Like, I'm just lonely? Is that really his entire motivation for fucking up the world? I'm lonely, so fuck the world. My brother died, so screw the... Like, it's not a great motivation when you're trying to write a three-dimensional villain. This is why when people are like, oh my god, this guy's on the level of Eisen, I'm like, no. No. No, he's not. Simplicity doesn't mean bad writing. But it needs to come to a core place from being complicated. If it's just black and white, then it needs to be hypothesized. It can't be told to us, the reader. Then it becomes one-dimensional. When we break it down because it's complicated and we break down a villain's motivation and why he believes this way and why he thinks this way and yada, 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 that's when we get to the true crux of it. Because you can still do the whole he's mad just because he wants to see his brother again and stuff, but it has to be written well. How Asakura in Shaman King was written that way. But he was still a great villain, even though his reason for doing everything was, it was layered. That's the difference. It wasn't just about seeing his mother again. It was a total different thing. There was a lot more to it, right? So if it's, yeah. Anyways, Meta said, you're not wrong. Well, thank you. Meta said, could just be genetics. That's too. We don't know what goes on in someone's brain, right? Like, that's the thing, too. We have no idea. We have no idea. Like, why does an animal, like, later on they find out a dog of 15 years, loyalty, attacks their owner and stuff. And it's like, oh my God, that's awful. And then they blame the breed, or they blame this, or they blame that. Then they do an autopsy and they find out that the poor thing had a brain tumor. And it was crushing it, so it had no sense of right from wrong, so it was lashing out. It basically had a high fever. Delirium and stuff sets in, even in animals and stuff. But what do? We put the dog down before we even figure it out. You know what I mean? It's the same with people. There's been such cases that people who go on a maniac rage and they murder people, it's like there was something wrong in the brain. Some wires got crossed, and it's like there was a medical condition involved and stuff. Not saying that they should be like, oh, they're free to go, but we do need to analyze that not every single time is because somebody made a mistake. There are phenomenon that sometimes, you'd have to go for a CAT scan. Everyone in the world would have to go for a CAT scan every 2 weeks for the rest of their lives to make sure that shit like this didn't happen. You know what I mean? And even then, that's not going to prove everything or stop everything, Even those minor cases. So yeah. It's down to genetics. It's down to personality. Maybe it's souls. Once again, let's get a little metaphysical with this. Maybe it's down to how a person's born. Maybe some people are born evil. I don't know. I'm not going to be the judge and jury and executioner on that one. Is it all when it break it down, is it something like that? Are there some people who are born rotten? Or are they created by their environment? Because why do people with rich parents who love them, who, and blah, 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 why do they go fucking batshit nuts? Who have the whole world laid out for them. They have a wife and kids who love them and stuff. And I'm not talking about PTSD soldiers who come home are all fucked up and think their wife's trying to kill them in their sleep, so they murder their wife and because they're all fucked up from what they saw in Afghanistan. I'm not saying that shit. I'm saying some school guy, popular, has a girlfriend, everything's going well, and then one day he just, snaps and he decides, yeah, I'm going to off my parents and off, what's with that? There was no trigger. There was no catalyst there. He had everything. And sometimes there's not a whole, oh, well, actually, he was closeted gay and he couldn't tell anybody and it ate him up inside. Or, oh, he was actually hurting inside because of this, that, and the other thing. Or he felt the pressure or this or stress or anxiety. No, sometimes there are just people who go, they literally go nuts. And it's like, what went wrong, right? So it's crazy to think about. We could talk about this for hours, or I certainly could, because I've thought about this many times, had many conversations here and off stream, and yeah, it can be pretty crazy. Meta also Met says he just wants friends. That's why he kills thousands of people. Yeah, that's not the best. You mean all for one? All for one just wants friends? Or are you talking How Asakura? Because How wanted a few other things. How wanted revenge and to see his mother again. The Realist Medell said, "Oh, I remember that there's a new spin-off tournament with the gods. It's not translated yet, but we have the roster." Oh, what? Medell, if you're still in my Discord, or if you're not, could you post it? If you're in Misk's point, could you post it in the Record of Ragnarok channel, or in my Discord? Just post it in the general. Joseph said, "If I may throw my hat in, religion may have caused serious harm, but at the same time, it has helped and united many. It's never black and white." Absolutely. But why do people go to war? People go to war for a few reasons, but generally speaking, is a difference in ideology. People go to war because they don't believe what you believe. Generally speaking, that is what's created war. Its ideologies are different. And ideologies differ in religions. Religions always think that they're right, that their God is the true God and the other gods are wrong. So, like, I'm friends with a Christian. He's been one of my longest friends. We just don't really talk about it. But I know he believes in God. That's fine. But if he were to come to me and basically say, if he started to try to push his beliefs on me, I'd be like, well, you're not coming to my kid's next birthday party. You know what I'm saying? And the problem is that when people are overzealous in their religions, they end up basically trying to push. And if you say, you're not welcome in my house anymore, then they break the door down. And we have war. And that's generally 99% of what happens. Granted, yes, you can argue greed and pride and wrath and all these things are involved as well. But, it's like, I want the land and stuff like that. Sure. But, it's generally caused. So, yes, religion has definitely united people, brought people together in times of crisis. Once again, organized religion is a problem. There's nothing wrong with belief, faith, and community. There's nothing wrong with those parts of religion. What happens is when they decide that they are more right than the other people. That's what happens when you take a church full of people who are all lovely people, and then you start basically saying like, next door is filled with this different group of people and stuff. And it's like, and we have to respect each other. The moment you start telling people is like, yes, our God is the one true God, but you have to respect these people who don't believe in your God. That's when tensions start. You know what I mean? Ask a religious person, truly a churchgoer of any religion, and ask them to respect their next door neighbor's beliefs, regardless what it is. You know what I mean? It's like, I find some of there's douchebags and dicks in every household. It doesn't matter whether you're religious or not, but I have found that when I go to someone's home and they're like, could you please take your shoes off? Okay. Is it for religious reasons? I don't know. Or is it a cultural reason? I don't know. Or is it because I got mud on my boots? I don't know. I take my goddamn shoes off because the owner of the house has asked me and I'm in their home. Their rules, it's their home, their bar, their boat. The problem I found mostly with religious people is that they don't respect that. It's like, well, I'm a Bible thumper so that I don't have to follow the rules of Buddhism in somebody else's home. Yeah, you do. You kneel down, if I go to somebody's house, if I go to my buddy's house and he wants to say grace, I don't stand there with my arms folded and keep my eyes open or whatever. I do this. Yeah, all right, I'll close my eyes. I don't need to believe in it to participate in the custom. I'm in their house eating their food. So I participate in grace. I don't say grace in my own house. And my buddy, when he comes over here for supper, doesn't expect me to say grace. If he wants to say grace, he can go right ahead. But it's not a practice I perform in my house, but I also don't disrespect him in his own house. So that's what I find, that generally speaking, it's the religious people that don't respect the cultural and religious customs of other cultures and religions. They think that they're so self-righteous, and a lot of that tends to come from, once again, I say the church, I don't just mean Christianity. A lot of religious peoples in all religions have that. You ever meet those group of people? Yeah. But yeah. And Joseph continues and said, and if anyone preaches anything that doesn't sound good and uses God and Christianity as an excuse, then that person truly isn't a follower. And try to convince them of that, because trust me, there are millions of people that will go to war under the name of God and not even know what they're fighting for. It's because the other side is different. Met says they could naturally be narcissistic and generally can't understand some types of love or compassion. Exactly. There's those, but my point is, I'm not just blaming religious people. There's those types of groups in every different group of people. Ethnic groups, cultural groups, religious groups. There's always going to be that group of people that usually give them a bad name. The LGBT group, the Black Lives Matter group, the positive things. Like, okay, yeah, LGBT, that's a good thing, right? Same with Black Lives Matter. Of course they do. That's a good movement and stuff. Women's rights movement. That's a good movement. But you have these people that dial that shit up to 11, and when you get zealous about it, when zealots get involved, they're what everyone sees on the news. There's what everyone sees. And that they take it one step too far. And people who don't stay informed and realize, okay, this is just one small group out of the hundreds and thousands of people in this group that don't agree with this person's views, but they end up somehow as the spokesperson. And then you have people who don't stay informed, whether it's their choice or not, and then you realize that, oh my God, I didn't realize that these people were so crazy and stuff. It's like they're not. Like this group isn't that bad. These 10 people out of these 110 in the room are nuts. But the other 90 are cool. You know what I mean? So, yeah. You can always do it no matter what, right? Met says, all for one. Yeah. So he wanted friends, so he decided to kill thousands of people. It's kind of crazy. Joseph said, I heard in a YouTube short about a guy who was grooming a child, but it turns out that he had a tumor in his brain that twisted him, and after he got surgery, he was fine. Exactly. They're rare, but such cases do happen. Many such cases do happen. There are a lot. You know how much circuitry is in the brain? As an electrician, I can tell you the neurons and the electrical wiring that's going on in a brain is more complicated than anything I've ever worked on. I've been an electrician for almost 2 decades. And I'm telling you, that shit's complicated as fuck. And we have 6 billion of those, all wired different, walking around in the world. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there's always going to be some stuff that we're just not going to be able to explain, or when we finally figure it out, it's like, okay, so he was not, that was the tumor talking, you know what I mean? And I think we do need to be able to acknowledge that. Realist Mandela said, I posted on your Discord. Thank you. I'll look at that in a sec. Met said, extremist religion is the only problematic type, in my opinion. It's definitely extremist in anything is a problematic type, right? Extremist anything. Like, for example, once again, this is going to be a hot topic. But I'm already my life sucks anyway, so what happens if I get flamed on the internet? Who cares? But, so I don't have a problem with the LGBT community. I think after gender number 34, I think we're going a little much. But I don't have a problem with, the core groups of them. And anybody I've ever met from those groups are totally great people and stuff like that, right? And I know a couple of trans people. I don't know which way they went, like if they were a guy that became a girl or the other way around. I don't know. I just happen to know that they're trans. They transitioned, whatever, and I'm okay, whatever. It doesn't affect me. It doesn't bother me. I still like them. One guy that I know, or girl, I'm not sure. I never asked the pronoun. Owns the comic book store that I used to frequent. Unfortunately, they had to close down or move shops or whatever. I'm not sure. But I used to frequent there all the time. Really nice, and stuff like that, right? But one problem I have as an extremist and I say all this to say an extremist example is, I don't believe that parents, whether you're, what's the new one, or the one that, non-binary, like people like, oh, I'm not male or female, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well, if I was a doctor, I kind of need to know that shit, because medicine says I need to know that shit to try to treat you if you're infected and whatever. So biologically, I still need to know what your body type is, whether you want to identify it as or not. So I've always had that sort of from a medical, biological standpoint. It can be important and life-saving in certain situations. So I never really fully agreed with that part. Now, you guys can hate me for that or whatever, say, oh, I'm not inclusive, I'm not accepting. No, I don't care what you want to do in your day-to-day life and call yourself, but there needs to be a little card there, like on your driver's license. Like, your blood type doesn't change just because you don't identify as blood type A. If you're blood type O, you're blood type O. And in a life or death situation, if you're in a car accident and they're rushed you to the hospital, they need to know your blood type. In certain situations and certain diseases and infections, they're going to need to know, no different than they're going to have to know also that you went through. It's no different than medical records are very important for allergies, to penicillin and certain antibiotics and stuff. They're going to need to know you went through a transitional surgery, or you went through this, or you went through that. Are you taking hormone blockers? Are you taking this? Are you taking that? We need to know your prescription meds. It's no different from everything else. That's always been one of the things that I've always said, well, you can say that, but medically speaking, there needs to be a box, a yes or no to that question. From, if I was a doctor, I'd be really exhausted, if I was a trauma surgeon. The other thing is that I don't believe in, when I saw these people, these gender fluid people, I believe they called themselves, if I'm saying that term correctly, and they were raising their children to be gender fluid. Very nope from me. That's not okay with me, right? So as an extremist example of that, I'm like, yeah, no. Do not bring your child into that shit, okay? After the age of 12, under the age of 12, don't do that. That's kind of, I'm not going to say that that's child abuse, but I am going to say that if you're, obviously, everyone says that everyone struggles and everyone does this and stuff, and why are you raising your kid to be a bully, to be bullied on the playground? That is such a horrible idea to put in their heads. And just because you are trans or gender fluid or anything like that doesn't mean that if you have a biological child or even adopt or whatever, doesn't mean that they're not perfectly satisfied being born a woman and being a woman, or being a boy and being gay, or whatever. They might already figure that out, but that's what puberty is for. It's not for you to be raising a 6-year-old, outside of that shit. I'm sorry. That's weird to me, okay? That part is something that I don't agree with, once again. But I believe, at least I like to believe, that was a very extremist example, and it does not represent people who go by non-binary, gender fluid, or whatever in the LGBT community. I like to think that was just one extremist example, and that's a rare case, just like extremists in religious groups and everything else, right? So, yeah, I find that there is always going to be that example of people, There's always going to be, in every group of people, there's going to be that guy who's like, whoa, okay, But yeah. Joseph said, exactly, and that's why a guy who believes in God, has a serious problem with evangelic people, because I've never seen a nice one who isn't a bigot. I'm not really familiar with the different sects and stuff like that, so I assume, are they like the Mormons, the Bible thumpers? I don't know. Matt said, well said. Joseph said, thanks. Matt said, not you. Oh, sorry. Well, I don't know what I said, but I'm sure I said something profound. But Joseph, you said something nice too. I don't, I'll have to look that one up. I'll look that one up in a second. Joseph said, at the end of the day, it's extremists that's the main problem. Exactly. Zealousness, not jealous, zealots. Zealots in any group, any community, are a problem. I don't care if it's religious, political, or whatever. It's always a problem. Met said, I think they can find out if they have a womb or not. Yeah, that's important. Maybe eyeball it. Met said, that's just child abuse. See, and as I said, I'm trying to be as fair as I can, but in my mind, that is child abuse, to raise a kid under the age of 12. Once they hit puberty and stuff, once again, I've had no problem. If I were to ever have a daughter or a son, and they came to me when they were into adulthood, late teens, and they said, look, Dad, I think I'm gay, or I think I'm bi, or I think I'm a woman inside, or I'm this, or I'm that. I'm like, okay, they're close to adulthood now, I would have my misgivings about it to the degree, not so much with gay or lesbian or whatever, but with doing a very permanent surgery, because once again, we've determined that the human brain isn't fully developed until at least around the age of roughly between 23 and 25. So I'd be like, okay, what's going on in school, what's happening here, like, why do you think this, blah, blah. We have many, many conversations and discussions about it, but I would never be like the guy who would sit there and be like, no, you're disowned or anything like that. I would never do that. No, I think that's totally wrong. I think it's a very wrong thing to do. They're your children, but you also want to try to reach a level of understanding with them, you know what I mean? And you also definitely, a 13-year-old comes home from school one day because she was bullied and she decides, I want to be a guy. Okay, well, maybe it's the whole you were bullied at school this week. That's the catalyst here, and you're making a rash decision. Why? Because you're a fucking child. You're 13. You can't make life-changing decisions at 13. We don't let people smoke, drink, or drive by 13. Why the fuck are we allowing to entertain this idea? You know what I mean? They can't vote, they can't drink, they can't smoke, they can't do any of that shit. The moment, once again, in the States, the age of consent for most things is about 21. I would argue 21 is the minimum from when we start having these life-changing conversations and discussions. That would just be me from my own parental idea, but once again, I'm not a parent, so maybe I have no fucking clue. Matt said, don't raise him to be hetero either, just raise him normally. Exactly. Why are you bringing sex and gender into the conversation with like a 7-year-old? That's fucking weird, okay? I remember being made fun of because I didn't know what the word virgin meant when I was 9 on the playground. I didn't know what the term virgin meant. Why? Because my parents hadn't had the talk with me because I was fucking 9. I was jumping off of swings and playing soccer. I did not fucking know about sex at 9. You know what I mean? Like, that's weird. I mean, you knew about it, the birds and the bees and blah, blah, blah. You knew it in general. I mean, I wasn't closeted as a kid. I watched Top Gun when I was 4. I knew that mommy and daddy love each other very much. They do something, then boom, you got a baby. But I knew that in the most general sense. I wasn't sat down and had the talk with because I hadn't had even my first erection at 9. Like, Jesus Christ, like, what are we doing here? That's the part that weirds me out. That's where it's like, yeah, now we're bordering on child abuse. Joe said, but even if a person don't fully understand non-binary, they can still respect them and call them by their preferred pronouns, right? Absolutely. Just don't get offended if I don't know it at first. If I see a beard, I'm going to assume you're a guy. And if you say, hey, I'm actually a she, I'll be like, okay, you're a she. But don't get offended that I didn't know that because I don't know who you are. And I haven't referred, hey, the fella down at the end of the bar was asking for the blah, blah, blah. If I'm a bartender, and they're like, that's not a fella, that's a woman. I'd be like, I don't fucking know. I don't know who it is. I saw a beard. I assumed it was a dude. Sorry. We're going to make physical assumptions about people. You guys see a wedding ring on my finger, right? You assume I'm married. Very good assumption. However, right now, I'm in the process of being separated. My wife's not even talking to me. How would you know that? How would you have any clue of that? You see a wedding ring on my finger and you assume I'm married. But what if I'm separated? What if I'm going through a divorce and I just can't deal with it and I haven't removed my ring? What if I put this ring on because I don't want to be hit on? What if I'm not actually married? What if I'm single as fuck and I just put this on to deter people away? See, no matter what, people are going to make assumptions about you, and being offended going forward is the problem. Being offended before that person might not have no hatred in their heart towards, using pronouns or whatever. Like, I get weirded out. My only weirded out pronoun is the they, them one. The only reason for that being is because those are plural, and that's weird. I've been reading a long time as a kid, and I can't wrap my head around using a plural pronoun for a singular person. Kind of fucks with my understanding of the English language. That's my only actual thing with it. It has nothing to do with not trying to respect their pronouns or what they want to be. I got no, you go do you. What you do in the bedroom and in your own spare time got nothing to do with me, So, But yeah, you should absolutely respect it. I just don't like when people get offended before they're told. Like, okay, you corrected me. So if I'm like, hey man, how you doing? Be like, hey, and if they just say, actually, I'm transitioning to be a woman. I would prefer she. I'd be like, oh, sorry, miss. That would be my response, right? As long as they didn't come at me for not knowing. I'm like, how would I know? I've never met you before. You know? That's my thing. It's sometimes very stressful and complicated when you don't know. And then you sort of almost avoid it, and then you create an uncomfortable situation. It becomes awkward. It's just a kettle of fish. Joseph said, I don't think any sane queer parent would force their children to be exactly like them. Wouldn't think so. I think, in all honesty, we make the joke, but wouldn't you want your child to have every advantage and have the smoothest childhood possible? So ideally, you would want them to fit almost into a social norm while still excelling. Like, why would you want them to be weird? You know what I mean? Like, I understand when kids are artistic and blah, 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 but why would you send a kid to school with a green mohawk at the age of, like, 7 or 8, like, and then wonder why he was made fun of and came home crying the next day because you thought, you know, making him look like dad, who's a tattoo artist or whatever. Hey man, how you doing? You know, that kind of look. He goes, oh, he wants to look like dad. And he goes, and then he got made fun of, and you're surprised. You know, like, no. Like, why would you want to do that? Why are you trying to make your children targets? You know how bullies work? Bullies will find anything. Why are you making it easy on them? There's always a bully in every school. There's always a shithead bully in every school. And they are going to target the easiest target. Why are you trying to put a target on your child's back? It's beyond me. Joseph said, frankly, I highly doubt it. Matt said, at least wait until like 16 to really believe it. Exactly. Like, once again, I'm not saying that I wouldn't believe, like, no, you're not 21 yet, so we can't even have this discussion. No, by high school, we can talk about it. But once again, I would think, like, look, there's still a long process ahead of us, you know. Because there's a lot of people that I know personally that changed their minds on, not on the transition or whatever, who made entire life decisions at 16, 17. And now, guess what? 26, 27, none of that is true. Thankfully, they got out of it. You know? But they're still suffering the repercussions of making life-changing decisions when they were fresh out of high school. And guess what? If you're not in the greatest mental state, if you're not in the greatest family situation, if you're not in the greatest, there's a multitude of factors. Your emotions are running high. Your horniness is never going to be higher. And you're going to make stupid decisions. And not just, you know, smoking too much or drinking and driving or something. Hopefully you don't, you know, nobody does that as much anymore. But you're going to make some bigger mistakes and bigger, you know, that's when it's time to make mistakes. You have a lifetime to correct them and figure them out. But yeah, I always find, like, we don't allow, in most governments, we don't allow people to make life-changing decisions until they're at least 21, 22. So I don't get why we think it's acceptable to accept the fact that a 15-year-old knows what the fuck they want. That's all I'm saying. You know what I wanted at 15? And what I want now? Yeah. Barring one thing that I've wanted since I was 3, everything's different. Joseph said, I've learned from LGBT YouTubers that people who identify as trans at young ages, they aren't allowed to do any life-altering changes until they're older. Absolutely. That is very true. But sometimes they do, I'm not going to say expedite the process, but there are examples where it's like, okay, they've decided to do this, and usually not, I've heard a lot of horror stories, it's not from a healthy place. It's due to trauma, bullying, not fitting in, having no friends. It's usually based on being a bit of a social outcast, feeling alone, feeling depressed, and there are situations like that, and I've heard more than a couple horror stories regarding that. Once again, those could just be outliers, but I would like to talk to a 15-year-old or a 16-year-old that is fully convinced that they're, they want to be trans and stuff, and see that they have a happy friend group, good in school, good family, parents, and there's nothing actually, waylaid. And they don't have a blog where they're all like blood and death and, oh my god, my anxiety, life is cruel, life is all that teenage emo crap. Show me a kid who's actually happy right now, or relatively speaking, because once again, they can't be happy because they're not in their right form, body, whatever. But everywhere else in their life, they're fine. They're just like, I'm just not happy being a girl. I'm just not happy being this. Like, I know I'm just not. Like, I have friends, I have this, I have that, and and something's missing. You show me that example, and then I'll be like, that's the person I want to listen to. Because listening to the one with the woes of being an outcast teenager, cry me a goddamn river. I've had that every time. I've been around it. I've been one. That shit passes. It fades. So that's why it's so hard to believe, because I knew a chick who was emo goth, dressed like Gene fucking Simmons from the time she was about 14 until last year of high school. Night and day. She totally turned around. She looked like a sexy librarian when in our last year of high school. Never would have guessed it was the same girl. Never would have guessed. She was in a punk rock band. She smoked. She drank. She did all the wrong shit. She skipped school. She was all, death is just a construct. Sort of all that emo talk. Everything was crows and depressing and all that shit for years. Not just 6 months. No, years. All of junior high, most of high school. All of a sudden, she turned around and, it was just like, wow. Like, that's a perfect example of a teenage phase that doesn't just last a summer. You know what I mean? So that's why it's hard to trust teenagers. I'm not trying to disprove that people can't feel these feelings. I'm saying that I trust a teenager's emotions and feelings as far as I can throw them in every topic, not just this, So that's why it's hard to take any of them seriously. Met said that should be the way it is, to be honest. You can't take a 9-year-old to get lip piercing. Exactly. Met said, or what if they just like rings? Using they is still actual English. For some reason. Met said, wanting a kid to have an easy sale isn't too good. They got to experience failure firsthand. What's the one thing you've wanted? But yeah, no, I'm not saying that they should have smooth sailing. Yes, you need to experience why do we fall, so we can learn to pick ourselves back up. Dark Knight, or Batman Begins, right? Absolutely. Kids need to experience failure and stuff like that. Yeah, absolutely. But why are you willingly trying to make their life harder for them? Because some kids can't take the mental anguish. I wouldn't know now, but, that's what fucks some kids up, too. There's excessive bullying and stuff, right? So, anyways, and the one thing I've always wanted, ever since I wanted anything, I always wanted the white picket fence dream. I wanted a wife, a couple kids, family dog, house with a roof over their heads, That's it. I just wanted a happy family of my own. That's all I've ever wanted. Everything else is secondary. As long as I had a house with kids that I was raising, that that I could provide for and stuff like that. That's all I've ever wanted since my first memory. That's all I've ever wanted. And now it seems like this year that I've lost that dream forever. I had the start of it. I have the house. I had the wife for many years, and I was gonna be a dad, or eventually, I assumed with my wife at some point, obviously, and obviously now that my wife is planning on leaving me, I don't know really what to do anymore. So the one thing I wanted in life, that I've always wanted, is now gone, And I don't know what to do about that. I really don't. Okay, so this went way longer than I wanted it to, but you guys got me talking. And that happens. But I want to read really quick. So they posted it in the Discord. There we go. So Realist Medell posted. I really just wanted to see the set for the new, when they finally translate the new manga or whatever, the Tournament of Gods. So let's see. We have... I know very few of these gods. And isn't it weird? Who's gonna fight in the tournament against in Ragnarok? None of these characters are in the tournament. So let's see. Shinigami. So I'm assuming a god of death from Japanese, like the Grim Reaper. Okay, cool. Leviathan, I assume that's supposed to be, not Leviathan. Leviathan. As in, like, you know, Behemoth and Leviathan and stuff. Belial, okay. Cool choice. Surtur, alright. Hydra, I feel like I should know the name Hydra, but I'm not sure where that one's from. Enma Dio, okay. I'm not familiar with Aurora Mazda. I'm not familiar with that god. Muramasa, heard the name, not very familiar with that one either. Then we have Morrigan and Nezha, don't know either one of them. Indra, of course, we've already seen Indra, what a badass, so that'll be really cool. Suzaku, not familiar. Prometeo, yes, Prometeo, alright, cool, that's not a bad choice. Sun Wukong, of course. It's not Bambina. So that's unfortunate. But Sun Wukong, okay. Ra, of course. And Chulian. Isn't that something from H.P. Lovecraft? Isn't the Chuchulayan or whatever? Yeah, so I know some of these. I don't know all of these. So that'll be interesting. If that gets translated, I'll want to, and I know what the first matchups are and stuff like that, I'll have to refresh. I'll have to start looking up some details on that good shit. You know what I mean? For sure. So yeah, Matt said, that's odd. I've never considered having a family to be a good thing as a kid. Met said, your dream isn't lost, it's only paused. Well, thank you for that. That's what a lot of people have told me. And maybe if I manage to get back together with my wife, it'll still be if she just gets over this midlife crisis or whatever the hell it is that's going on with her, maybe it still will be a dream. But I also don't believe in remarrying. So the dream is gone if it's not with her, if that makes sense. And I've been with her too long. I've been with her basically just about 12 years. And, I'm getting a little old to try to start again and pick up the pieces. Because for one thing, it wouldn't be fair, not to go on a whole thing about that, but it wouldn't be fair for one thing. I'm way too stubborn. I suck at letting go. I suck at forgetting, and I suck at these things, okay? So, let's say at best, and this is being generous. Let's say it takes me 3 years to get over the emotional side of things, right? Let's take 3 years. It's going to take longer, but let's just give it 3 years, okay? So by that time, I'm going to be about 37. So when I'm 37, or 36, or 37, so by that time, getting over that will have done a lot of damage, obviously. And then I'm going to be a more hardened, changed person and stuff. And I'm not going to be willing to open up my heart very easily again, right? Because if all the trust and all the promises and everything can be broken, why couldn't it be broken again? I'm going to be absolutely terrified of opening myself up to another human being. So like, oh, well, you don't know, because once again, this wasn't a 1 year girlfriend. This wasn't a high school crush. This was my wife, and I was with her for 12 years. So every promise, everything, it's like when do I get the guarantee? You know what I mean? Because I didn't actually do anything wrong. And she just is sort of done, and like I'm not actually getting any answers. So I'm very confused, obviously, alongside very hurt. So there's no guarantee anymore, because I was stupidly naive, and I believe that when you actually fall in love with someone, outside of them doing horrendous things, committing adultery, abuse, anything like that, I don't believe people fall out of love like that unless it's amicable. I believe that two people who were in love can drift apart and fall out of love as a unit. I don't believe that two people who actually fell in love with each other can just one day wake up and decide, I don't love this person anymore who still loves me. They either never loved you to begin with, or they're full of shit. And that's just my belief system, right? And that's not really going to change. So it's also very cruel as a result, where I'm still in love with my wife, regardless of how she's treated me this year. I'm still in love with my wife. And the problem is that even if I give myself that 3-year thing, it's not fair to another woman to even attempt to date them while I'm in love with another woman. That would be that would be emotionally manipulative. It would be unfair. And in all honesty, the idea of being with another woman makes me want to fucking hurl. So I'm not built that way. I'm built more animalistic. I'm built with the whole mate for life sort of deal. And when they die, you don't get a second round. You don't get to hit retry. You lose the game. You know, casino's closed. You gambled, you lost. You know, you're out of money. So I'm built that way. So I just got to reevaluate, and if it's never going to happen between me and my wife again, then I just going to have to decide on a new dream, a new goal, or just accept the fact that everyone in this world is born, I like to think, with having a dream or having a goal in life. Not everybody makes it. How many people dream of being the next Michael Jordan? As fantastical and like wild as that is, but how many people dream of that and never even make it to the NBA? You know, they work their whole life and they just don't got it, and then their whole dream's gone. You know, it's not something that I believe just goes away, but not everybody gets a happy ending. You know, Hollywood would like to tell you that everyone gets a happy ending. Some people don't. Some people die alone. Some people die alone, miserable, and hating life. You know, just because I may or may not be a good person in general doesn't mean that I am entitled to a happy ending. I could do everything right and still end up alone. So I'm starting to accept the realism of that fact that there's 6 billion people on this planet, and guess what? A lot of them are miserable. A lot of them are good people who still end up miserable. So I'm just accepting that reality. I know it's a little pessimistic as well, but something I'm going to have to live with, right? Realist Medell said, Aurora Mazda is a Persian god. I know nothing about the Persian gods, so okay. Realist Medell said, Suzaku is the vermilion bird. Oh, okay. I know who Suzaku is now then, the vermilion bird. Yeah, I know that one. Okay, cool. Realist Medell said, it's Chulani, basically Irish Hercules. Oh, okay. Cool Chulani. Okay, Irish Hercules. That sounds kind of cool. You spelled it Hercules, so I'm saying Hercules, not Heracles, but it is Heracles. We all know. Rizmadel said, I posted Aurora design on Discord. Oh, did you? Oh. That's... Okay, my initial thought is I don't like it. But I understand the artistic, what they're trying to do with it. And now that I look at it longer, I'm starting to think it's okay. I like the idea. I think I like the idea, and I don't think it's been executed perfectly. And once again, maybe he transforms his face depending on more so or whatever. The whole literally directly in half thing. I think this is a cool concept, not the best executed. But both sides look cool. Like if I do this, you know what I mean? And I see one half, I'm like, that half looks cool and that half looks cool. So, okay, all right. We'll have to see. Um, I said, or they found someone new. Yeah, that's very true, very true. And I'll see a lot of people are built that way. I'm not built that way. I've never been built that way. See, unlike, and I know some people are like, yeah, well, you were with women before your wife. I was like, yeah, I fucked. I didn't love. It's different, right? I've only ever really loved one woman, and you know, and unfortunately, I'm still in love with her, and I don't really see that changing anytime soon. Though I do have a game plan, by the way. I do have a game plan. I'm just gonna go get some dogs. See, I was never able to commit to dogs that my wife always wanted to get because of our situation with her still trying to get me into California. Like we were trying to. She wants to live in California. I have too much of a setup of a life here, and she didn't want to live in Canada. So, we were constantly like at odds about this stuff. And then just one day it was like, nope, we're not working on it anymore, and sort of just done. And that there's a lot more details than just that. But the fact of the matter is that I wasn't able to commit to anything here, like us having kids, us having dogs, us having anything, because it was going to be a sentence where it was like nobody would be able to just pack up and go, right? We wouldn't be able to just pick up and somebody move and then start another life, in another place. So we were always waiting on to make some bigger decisions first, and now it's clear that if my wife wants nothing to do with me, then because I also wanted dogs, she wanted kids and dogs, and I wanted kids and dogs, and we had talked about the future many times, and it was like, okay, that works out, and so now for some unconditional love, because now I got a big marital home that I've never felt so lonely in. Even though she was gone for months at a time, it was still our house, and I still talk to her every day, and stuff like that, and she was always going to come back, and now this time she's not coming back. So it's like, okay, so I have to figure out a way to fill that void, and I figure the responsibility of getting some dogs will be enough to kick my ass out of bed and keep me moving. You know what I mean? So that's my new game plan. That's my new goal, is to get a pair of dogs and just focus anything left of my shattered heart on them. Anything left that I got to give, I'll give to some really nice animals. So I always loved animals. I love dogs. I love cats. I love. Medell says, if you want, I can post the other designs if you want. Absolutely, go ahead. At this point, I wanted this to be over in 45 minutes to an hour. Now we're an hour and 40, so I might as well just keep going. I got nowhere to go. Matt said, out of the 6 billion, statistically, there's probably more than 1,000 people who want you. Only 1,000? Jesus. I go down to the bar and I got women trying to shove their tongues down my throat for some goddamn reason. Not necessarily supermodel attractive women either. I don't want to sound like I'm being egotistical there, but I have had that happen while married. I went down to a bar with a friend, and I'm not looking, I'm married and blah, blah, blah. And friends of friends, and the older women seem to like me. I don't get it. Maybe it's the jawline or something. It just attracts married women. It attracts older women. I don't know what it is. But yeah, okay. While he posts the design, I'll be right back, ladies and gentlemen. Just gotta take a quick leak now that this has gone on so long. I was gonna work on one of my other projects, but at this point, yeah, might as well just keep going for a little bit while we check the designs, and then we'll end the stream. I'm not going longer than 2 hours. That's for damn sure. But yeah, just let me. Where the hell is the mute? Mute this, and I'll be right back. There we go. There we go. I was about to say, I said I forgot this, but not that I really need a phone anymore. I don't have a wife to fucking call me. So yeah, let's see the designs. Are the designs posted yet? No, not quite yet. Okay, we'll wait on the designs. We're waiting on the designs, Realist Medell. Waiting on those designs. Let's see. So yeah, definitely post those. That's oh right. So Matt already said that. Yeah, there's maybe 1,000 people who want you. Yeah. Chad Genetics. Yeah, I'm such a Chad. Peak physical form. Yeah. Joseph said, I need to head off back to work, but I hope everything goes well for you. Well, I mean, all you can do is fake it till you make it, Joseph, but thank you very much for stopping by. We're going to be ending the stream once Realist Medell posts those designs anyways. I'll give him a couple more minutes. If he doesn't post any, then I'll assume... Yeah, we'll get to them at some point, maybe the next stream if we don't get to this one, so... It's fine, it is what it is. But thank you very much for stopping by. I do kind of like these streams, though, that go off on tangents completely unrelated. Usually because I decide to talk about shit. I take somebody, say, like, let's see, lip piercing. Like, okay, let me tell you about piercings, ladies and gentlemen. And then I go on a 9-minute tangent for you guys, you know what I mean? Matt said, can I get a Discord invite? Sure. Should be in the thingy. But sure, I can probably find one and post one here. Granted, I'm going to warn you right now, like I warn everybody. My Discord is very, very, well, it's dead. It's pretty dead. I don't know, how many people in here? I've got, like, not quite 100. I've got, like, 80-something people. But no one really uses it. We don't really talk much in here. You can talk, and people will answer, but it's not a very lively Discord. It's pretty, you know. But sure, you can join it. Let's see, invite people. I'm sure there's probably a better way to do this, but let's see. Translated, I want the edit invite link. Generate a new link. Where's the link? I don't get it. Invite friends. Hidden. Use copy button. What the hell was that? One sec. Ladies and gentlemen, sorry about this. I have to go see what the hell that noise was. I'll see if this works, though, before I go. Yeah, there you go. That should work for you. Yeah, so you can get one. I've had 8 Demerol piercings. I'll have to look up what those are. Are those ones that just, like, they're just a spike in your, like, cheek and shit? I'll look them up in a minute. But I gotta go see, what the hell was that noise? One sec. Maybe I'll go get shot. It's Canada, but you never know. Maybe I'll go find out and get shot. Okay, I know what it was now. I should have looked at the time. The lake's right down the road there, and it's technically Canada Day because it's midnight as of right now. But I mean, everybody usually celebrates on the weekend. Like we celebrated, I had Canada Day. My Canada Day party was on was yesterday, was Saturday, right? So people could barbecue and blah blah blah. But yeah, technically it's Monday. It's 12:01 or whatever. So yeah, that would do it. That would do it. So yeah, what's a demerol piercing? Well, let's see if there's anything posted here yet. Oh, yes there is. Yes there is. Let's see. Sun Wukong. Honestly, I kind of like the originality. Immediately, my thought is it looks so different from what other people, you know, when they interpret the Monkey King, when they do the, you know, Sun Wukong and stuff like that. This looks so unique and still a cool design. I think I like it. I think I really like this one, especially the round glasses and everything. He's got a bit of that Buddha look to him. Yeah, I like it. I like this design for sure. Let's see. Morgan, Irish goddess of war. Oh shit, but she ripped a, oh my. Alright, so she's, oh, I love the Hylian. I forget, there's a certain style, they're called something when you do short elf ears, but when you do the big ones, when you do the elongated ones like that, I always loved the long, I just call them Hylian ears from Zelda. But yeah, I love characters that have the Hylian ears. Let's go. Worst haircut you could possibly fucking have. Who the fuck cuts bangs? But the rest of that design is fucking gorgeous. I like that design. I love a woman who can kick my ass. So 100% yes on that one. No name reveals yet for these two. Okay. I like the bottom one better. And whoever's sitting there with the big, that's Belial. That's Belial 100%. That next one, yeah, that's Belial 100%. Yeah. Yeah, that next one, that's Belial. No question there. No question there. Let's see. Oh yeah, I was gonna look this up. Or I think I was saying subhemadural, but let me just see. What is that? Oh, yeah, those things. Yeah. No offense, Matt, but I think those are fucking stupid. That being said, I don't like any real piercings. I think the ears are about the only thing a man or woman should have pierced. I don't like pierced tits. I don't like pierced dicks. I don't like pierced clits. I don't like nose rings. I don't like fucking the eyebrow ones. I don't like the tongue piercings. I don't like the lip piercings. I don't really like any piercings. The only piercings that I think work are for the ears, the lobes of the ears. And I hate when the gauges. I hate those fucking gauges. Ugh. Fucking shit creeps me the fuck out, honestly. Gives me the willies. But yeah. I'm not a fan, but you do you. Once again, you do you. That's just my preference. I don't like them. I've never liked them. Matt said for $45 and a dream, you can get a piercing in your neck and wrists. Ugh. Fuck. In my neck? In my... Ugh. Like, that freaks me out right now. And I have a tattoo and everything. I'm just saying that freaks me. The idea of doing that shit anywhere... Yeah. No. Nope. Adele said, so I posted the designs on Discord. Yeah, I was going through them. Which one were we up to? So we already said that the one in the shadows is clearly Belial. I'm 100% convinced. Oh, who's this dude with the tree trunk? Demigod said to have berserk form when he hulks out. Oh, this is the Irish... Hercules, is it? Louie. Okay. And Ra. You know, I praised the Sun Wukong design for this, but I really wanted the bird head for Ra. I'm actually kind of disappointed. Everything else looks fine, but I really wanted the bird head. I really wanted the bird head. That kind of bothers me a little. But yeah, no. I like the designs. I think overall the designs are fine. I think they're pretty cool. So yeah, 100% for that. Oh, we're finally finishing off the season, are we? All right, cool. Gauges are disgusting. Yeah, no, I agree. I agree 100%. So yeah. Anyways, that's the end of it. I do like doing tangent streams, guys. So thanks for Joseph, Matt, and Medell. Thanks, and Caden initially. Thanks for you guys jumping in and keeping the chat going and stuff. I really appreciate it because it makes the stream more fun for me, makes it more interactive and stuff, and you know, it kills some time. It distracts me from, you know, the oh woe is me of 2024. You know, so. No, I do appreciate that, and I guess Happy Canada Day, because it is Canada Day weekend, but officially, as of now, it is Canada Day where I live, so, because it is July 1st or whatever, isn't it? Yeah, it's July 1st, so. So it is Canada Day, Happy Canada Day, yay. I think this is 157? 150, I don't know what anniversary it is. I was in Capital City for 151, but that was a while ago, so. Yeah. Matt said, we got the dog head and not the bird head. Yeah, right? Anyways, alright, so thanks guys so much for watching. When Chapter 91 comes out, I will try to get to this more sooner rather than later, but obviously with everything going on this year into the spring, I wasn't aware that my whole life was shattering to pieces. So, but I will try getting back into streams, and yeah, thanks guys for your patience. And all that fun jazz. So like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you guys back here for Chapter 91. I do enjoy. I think this is a great fight. I think it's one of the better fights in the last, you know, out of the last 5. I think the Tesla one was fun, but by that point I had such a bad taste in my mouth for Beelzebub and the amount of like 200 pages spent on that goddamn guy that I was sort of burned out of Beelzebub content. And then Leonidas and Apollo was so disappointing that it was just like meh. So, but this fight is, I think it's shaping up fantastic. So I'm looking forward to Chapter 91. Hope you guys are too. And we will see you guys back here next time. Thanks guys so much for watching. And yeah, have a good one, everyone. Good night. Happy Canada Day.